One more bird story. Una, el dios de las aguas. So Jacu was my accidental on purpose baby. And his daddy is from Peru. He's the artist of a lot of the jewelry that you see for sale on my website. Energy medicine made, handcrafted by Indian Peruvian artists and medicine men. So Yaku's daddy and I are not an item, but it's okay because I made this adorable baby for him. And I'm struggling taking care of him, but I do love him. I'm glad he's on Earth. However, I look forward to taking him to his daddy so he can have his turn. Woo! To Peru! And then we're going to have our Peruvian adventure. Machu Picchu and all that. I'm really excited. So Yaku was conceived. Yaku. In Finland. And that was a super epic adventure that I went to by myself. And that is where I met Yaku's daddy in person. And that's where I made Jaku. We made Jaku. And it was a very interesting spiritual moment. And it was, in fact, the night just before my flight home that happened. And his dad, as we were in the process of making Yaku, which of course I didn't know we were making Yaku, but apparently his dad did know because his dad told me as we were in the process of doing this deed that makes babies that we'll make a boy. Yakuruna, but he didn't say Yakuruna, he said Yaku. And then I said that he will look just like his daddy, and he does. He looks just like his daddy. So, you know, being with my law of attraction, there's also been the study of, I don't know if that's the right word, but the, you know, information has come across the possibility of that we choose the gender and everything of our babies if we want to, and that we can do that and whatever. So Yaku, that is exactly what happened. I said that he would be I think his dad said, we both agreed that he would be a boy. Dad named him in that moment, Yaku. And then I said that he would be just like his daddy. And in that moment, his father and I were very connected, and it was a really special moment because of the sequence of events of this planet and things that transpire. At least at this time, Yaku's daddy and I cannot be together, and we don't even want to be together, and we're totally at peace and fine with that. And I don't know what the future holds. I don't, either way it doesn't matter, right? But because of the sequence of events, he and I cannot be physically in the same place together. I don't necessarily want to be in the same place. He's very special, and because he's very difficult, so, and exhausting to me. I just can't be around the same people all the time anyways, in general, no matter who you are. So, he can't come in the country. I'm not willing to do what it takes to get him in the country, and so he's either in Peru or in Mexico or in Spain or wherever in the world he goes in the world, and I'm here with Jaku. So I came back to the United States from Finland not knowing that I was pregnant, you know, I just thought it was some fun little game we played while we were doing thing that people do. And that was all. And then I got extremely, like, busy and just, like, completely wrapped up in taking care of my other kids, which is extremely exhausting and consuming. And I came back and my little grandson was born, and I did my best to help them out with that and whatever. And then about a week after he was born, I took all my kids to meet their little brother who lives in California, Mr. Adorable Mateo. And I was like exhausted, but I'm exhausted. I just went on a trip, and I came back on the baby thing, and then the kids, and then organizing, and of course I always have to come home and like clean, organize, this and that, even though the house is, you know, pretty clean, but you know, there's always stuff that I left behind that I need to get back to. So I was just tired and looking forward to this trip, and so we could just go chill, because I can chill better when I'm out here than when I'm at home. And so I pack up my 5 kids and my pregnant self, and I didn't even know I was pregnant because I had no morning sickness. At this point, I was like full Weston A. Price, mostly eating meat and animal fats and fermented foods, some fermented plant foods, etc. Look up Weston A. Price to find out how to prepare things. That's how I was doing it, and how I continue to do it. So I packed up my kids and took off on our road trip, and it was great. We had so much fun. We went to all these different places and met the little boy, and came back, and then I was just, you know, organizing, cleaning, doing stuff, trying to figure out how I was going to generate an income for myself while taking care of all these kids, because I had full custody of them, Well, baby's daddy, Yaku's daddy, I still didn't know I'm pregnant, right? But I'm still talking to this fellow just as a friend. And he says, hey, like, I'm curious to know what you can find if you do a search on, like, houses or apartments for rent near and around Cancun area. Because he wanted to rent a place that he could do his shaman medicine business stuff from. Well, that's all really interesting to me, so of course I want to be involved. Like, who wouldn't? So I look it up, because he was thinking like maybe I was going to be able to get cheaper prices, which in fact that was not necessarily true, but the search engines for the United States usually end up with higher prices. So that's irrelevant to the point, because I found this beautiful little place and I was like, what, this is real? Like, oh my god, like, it would have never occurred to me to look this up had he not prompted me to do it. And so I caught up just for fun, because I'm always having fun. This has nothing to do with my birth story-ish. Point is that I looked up this place and I contacted the realtor that had it up for sale, and I said, hey, would the owner let me come stay there for like a week or so I can just give it a fill, because I want the place to live in for a substantial amount of the year, in addition to like running business from it. But I need to know, you know, what's the deal with the neighborhood and everything, right? So he, you know, I was just fucking around. I didn't think anything was gonna come of it. But the guy contacts me back and he's like, yeah, she'll let you stay for 4 days for free, and then after that it's like $20 a night or whatever it was, $40 a night. Can't remember. So I was like, damn, I'm gonna go get my 4 free nights. Fuck yeah. And then so baby daddy was in Tulum at the time, and so I thought, well, I'll just go hang out with him for a bit, and then we'll go either together or I'll go by myself to check out this place. So that's what I did, and this place was like freaking mind-blowing amazing, and the story behind it was like mind-blowing amazing. Like, the original owners was this shaman dude and his home midwife wife, and blah blah blah. Like, I was like, what the fuck? Like, this place is supposed to be mine. Like, I want this place. I was like, how do I get this place. So I came up with a plan of like offering the lady a lesser amount than what she was asking for, and a certain arrangement, whatever. Anyway, she basically accepted my offer. Like, she did come back with a little bit of a different offer, but it was basically acceptable to her offer. And so I made a deal. Well, just before I went on this trip, or was it after? I can't remember. It might have been a little bit before or a little bit after, and just before I went back to actually get the keys to the place. I felt like what felt like kicking in my, down below, and I'm like, that's not fart bubbles. So I go take a pregnancy test, and I'm like freaking pregnant, and I'm like, 3 months along or some insane amount, enough to be able to feel this little kicker over here, like kicking the shiz out of my uterus, which, my 8th baby. Come on, you should know you're pregnant. But this is the first and only baby I never had zero nausea with. The only thing that was different is I was super tired. That was kind of normal. And I was super hungry. I was like, yummy. I loved eating. It was so good. So I had no freaking clue. So all my other babies, I was just sick stuff right off the bat. And I obviously had missed my period, but I was so busy with all the kids and the trip, and oh my gosh, this place, I'm gonna go get it, and it's so exciting. Like, I just spaced out that I hadn't got my period, which is also very weird for me. So what are you gonna do? So I believe that was meant to be, because at that point, baby's daddy had irritated me beyond measure, and if I wasn't feeling this baby moving, I would have had an abortion. Period. End of story. I was too exhausted and too overwhelmed with my kids I already had. I had no business having another child. And so, when I told his dad, yeah, I'm pregnant, he didn't believe me. And he told me, to have an abortion then, because he didn't want to be with me. It was a deal. So I was like, okay, that's fine. I don't want to have your kid anyways. Freaking annoying, exhausting human. And so I contemplated the idea, but I can feel the baby moving. I couldn't, no. I'm not going to kill a moving baby. So then I thought, well, I'll give him up for adoption. That'll be wonderful, an amazing experience. And I'll do it like an open adoption. And da-da-da-da-da. Well, I met with the adoption agency, and I'd picked a couple. I hadn't told the couple yet, so no disappointment was had there. But I did have someone in mind. It was a lesbian couple. That's something I was always wanted to do, is give a same-sex couple a baby. So obviously they have difficulty more than others. But the adoption agency said they cannot facilitate the adoption unless dad signs the adoption papers too. Well, so I tell dad, and he told me to get an abortion, whatever, but I guess he said that you'd said that because he didn't believe me. Which is okay, that's stupid, that doesn't even make sense. But he said, no, I want the baby, so have the baby and give me the baby. We haven't given the baby yet because we realized that dad doesn't know how to take care of the baby, so fucking A, I'm taking care of the baby. So anyways, that was that. Fucking A, I guess I can't give the baby up for adoption. And so, I proceeded to do my thing, build my business, because of my Mexico place, now I have to figure out a way to pay for my Mexico place. I have to figure out a way to pay for my Utah place. And so because of my Mexico place, it gave me the idea to turn my Utah place into a bed and breakfast that would generate money to pay for itself, and then I would run the Mexico place on the on-season as a bed and breakfast, and that would generate money to pay for itself, and da-da-da. Well, my ex-husband, instead of talking to me like a mature adult, decided to sue me, even though I would have just given him what he was asking for. He just would talk to me, but he wouldn't. I didn't know what to do, and I was like, this is freaking insane. Like, this guy doesn't know how to take care of my kids, and he's abusive, and he's fighting me for custody of my kids and my daughter. Like, he turned all my kids against me violently, like, over this made-up shit. Like, the whole thing was insane. So obviously I couldn't leave to go to my Mexico place because I'm freaking exhausted. I'm broke. I'm having to give my money to lawyers and all this shit. And I have to take care of my kids. And I had to grow this business from my Utah house so I could have money to fund me even leaving. And then by the time I was able to get things rolling enough to where maybe I had enough money to go, I was so pregnant, so burned out, and so just, I couldn't even move. So I was like, my Mexico place sitting there totally abandoned, and I was paying people there to help me maintain it and stuff, thank goodness. So that's from basically June to December when Yaku was born. So Yaku was born on December 13th. And, yeah, it seemed like he was a week overdue or some shit. Like, it was horrible. Like, I just was so tired. I was hoping he'd come early, and I was having all this preterm labor and stuff. Can you not touch this? Like, this is garbage, dude. It smells gross. Garbage, that's fine. But anyways, I had strangers living in my house renting out my rooms. And I wanted to rent out a, like, Airbnb to go birth in, but I couldn't afford it. Not for the amount it took. Like, I was going to rent it, like, the week before I went into labor. I would have rented it for a week, which would have ended a whole week before I actually went into labor, if that makes any sense. So I wouldn't have been able to afford 2 weeks. You know, I couldn't afford the amount of time I needed to just chill there, waiting for me to kick into labor. So I just said, F it, I'm just going to risk it and go into labor here with these people that are totally medical brainwashed idiots and hope they'll fuck shit up for me. And so I told the lady, or, you know, I told the people I lived with, like, I'm going to have my baby here, and I've done this before, and I need you to not freak out, and, you know, don't call the ambulance or anything, because everything's fine. Like, I know what I'm doing, and if I do need help, I will call the ambulance myself. And so I go into labor, and I was trying to stay in my room, and I was co-sleeping with all my kids in my room, because that's how I keep them safe, obviously. And it was just super intense, and I was super vocal, and frickin', I did record the birth, so it's like 2.5 hours worth of recording that I need to go through and, like, you know, blur out vagina stuff and whatever. But it was really hilarious because my boys woke up and they started coaching me to push. And then the lady that lived in the room next to mine, her dog heard me and woke her up, and she's like a wonderful nightmare lady, and so she, of course, wants to quote-unquote help, which is more like interfere. But anyways, things were super intense. Everyone woke up. Everyone, you know, my mama heard me. She woke up, came upstairs. All my kids were awake. Oh, my kid had friends sleeping over. Oh, and there was another birth. Oh, I think Willow's birth, the one before this. My son had his friends sleeping over, and they heard me moaning and groaning and screaming. So with Yaku, my daughter had her friend sleeping over, and I had him sleeping just outside my door in case I went into labor, so they didn't have to, like, see me. So of course they heard me and woke up, and everyone was awake. And so my mama came in and was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, can you just take the boys?" Because they were like, so excited and talking to me and everything, but it was just, everything was going so fast and super intense. Like, oh my God. Like, I kind of regret having them leave, but it was just too much. So I had her take them out, and then I had like this vibrator massage thing that I was using on my back that was so great. But again, like, it would relieve, and then it would come on more intense and all this stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then all of a sudden, I can't remember if I felt up there and I felt the baby's head or whatever, but things were like super duper intense. So I asked my mom to call my roommate that was in the room next door, because I thought maybe she would have some marijuana, because I didn't have any. And, she said if I need anything to let her know. So I thought that might help, and so I called her in, and she didn't have any. So then I asked her, hey, like, do you mind doing this massage vibrating thing on my lower back, just right above my upper butt, lower back area? So she's doing that, and she's like this really high-strung, like, paranoid lady, and there is a bee that has a butt that looks like a ladybug, and it's really cool. Holy crap. Anyways, then that was helping, but then it made things more intense, of course. So then I asked her, and then I got freezing, like I was freezing. Oh, before she came in, I was freezing, and I asked my little son if he'd help me put my socks on, because I couldn't do it. Like, the contractions were so intense, I couldn't even put my freaking socks on. So my poor little son put my socks on for me. My little 10-year-old son. He's 10 or 11, I don't remember. That's what happens when you have too much stress and too many kids and too much shit to do. I got a picture of the bee thing. I first asked my little son Leonidas to put my socks on, but he couldn't. He's like 6 or something, right? Or 5 at the time. So, anyways, the lady was there and massaging me and was helping. Then I was like, and then, with him, when I went first into labor, my water exploded, I believe, into the toilet. So then I'm like, that's new and different. I've never had my water explode from the beginning. So obviously I knew I was in labor. But I'm doing shit on the first story, but you can read all about it. Yakuruna's birth story on wildmotherswisdom.com. Childbirth and parenting section. So then I asked this lady if she would go fill up my bathtub with hot water, warm hot water, so I could just put my feet in it, because I was planning on just putting my feet in it to warm me up. So she did, and then I went in there, and as soon as my feet hit, I think I was naked, I just had my robe on or something, but as soon as my feet hit that water, my whole body went in, and I was like, instant relief. Like, all the pain, all the discomfort, all the freezing, everything went away. And then the next thing I know, my baby's head is pummeling out of me. And I had closed the bathroom door, but I forgot to lock it. So Mrs. Helpful Roommate walks back into the bathroom moments after my baby's head had come out. So what happened is, so his head was pummeling out, and I reached down there, and I feel like this huge, like, double the size of my normal baby head. I swear to God, it was like just massive. Maybe it was like 1.5 times bigger, but it felt just like, and I was like, and then I hesitated, I stopped, and I was like, oh my God, this baby is going to tear me to shreds. Like, he's going to just destroy my down there-ness. And so I was freaking out for a second, and then I came to my senses, and I was like, well, this is the only way out. He has to come out. He has to come out through there. So the next contraction, I just, as controlled as I could pushed him gently out while I like basically like took my 2 hands and wrapped my vagina skin from around his head, and it was insane. Like, I've never felt my vagina stretch to that level of stretching, and and his head was out, and he was out underwater, so it was a water birth, and I didn't mean to have him in water. Like, I was actually like talking shit on water births, so it was kind of funny. But you know, his name actually means the god of waters, so this was really interesting and special that he actually found his way to be born, not just in water, but hot water, like even warmer than it should be water. So his little head's down there between my legs out, and this lady comes back in with towels and whatever. She's trying to be helpful. Bless her little freaking annoying soul. And it was great, but at the same time, like, I wish, like, I didn't want her to come in because she doesn't understand anything about home birth, right? Or natural birth. So she starts freaking out, and she's like, okay, she wanted me to put my legs up on the top of the bathtub and push, and she's like, okay, put your legs up here and push. So I'm like, no. I'm like, that's not how it works. You have to wait for another contraction, and I'm not putting my legs up there. So she's freaking out because the baby's head's underwater, and she's like, the baby's going to drown. And I'm like, the baby's not breathing yet, and the baby's been living in water, so it's not going to drown. The cord is feeding him oxygen. He's fine. So I'm like, just wait a minute. You know, when the next contraction comes, I'll be able to push out the rest of him. So then, you know, the next contraction took a few minutes for sure, and then it came, and I pushed out the rest of him, the massive rest of him. And so this lady was like so excited that she thought she birthed my baby, right? 'Cause she's like the doctors, like they catch the baby and they think they're the ones that birthed the thing, you know. So the baby, you know, he was born into the water, and then she's like, do you want me to hand him to you? Can I hand him to you? Or something to that effect. And I was like, yeah, you know. So she grabbed him and handed him to me. And then he was like limp and floppy. And obviously that's not like the ideal. We don't want our babies limp and floppy. But I knew he was fine. His cord was slowly like still pumping blood into him. And so she was freaking out about him being limp and floppy, and I said, this is normal. He is a huge baby that just came out of a tiny hole, so he's probably in a little bit of shock. He came pummeling out in 2 pushes, in addition, 2 hours and 22 minutes, or something like that. So, you know, he's just cozy in me, all squished in there, and then all of a sudden, like, a hurricane happened, so he's just in a little bit of shock, and he's going to be fine. So it took a minute, but he did come to, and he was fine, obviously, as you can see. But, like, my down there parts were destroyed. I felt like I had a crater down there for, like, ever. Still not back to full normal, but nearly. It got back to the point where it's even out, seriously. So, since she was there and available, I asked her to help me stand up because I was having a hard time standing up while holding this giant baby. And then I walked to the room. Oh, I was trying to get the placenta out in the bathtub, but it just wouldn't come. It just wasn't budging. Like, I was feeling around to see if I could feel it, and I couldn't really feel anything. And so we went into the room, and I waited for the cord to stop pulsating, and as soon as it did, she, of course, continued to be very helpful. So I just let her, because I was in pain. Why not? Because, you know, I didn't have no baby's daddy on this one. I was just me, myself, and my kids. So I can't remember, but I told her, okay, tie it here and tie it here, and then she asked me if she could cut the cord or something, and I'm like, yeah, you can cut it. So she cut it, and then I think I said, you take the baby and show everybody the baby while I work on getting this placenta out. So I laid down, because I just kind of feel around my uterus and just kind of massage it a little bit so you would get the placenta dislodge. And it was taking a minute, so the lady was starting to freak out, even though it was not hemorrhaging or anything, nothing like that. But she doesn't know nothing, right? She just knows what she's been brainwashed with. And so she calls the hospital, because her daughter was a nurse, and of course they think they're the knowers of all things, even though they're just legal drug dealers. And so, thank God, by a miracle, she didn't, like, the ambulance didn't come. No, Yaku, that's soap. Dude, you're gonna get soap in your eyes. So, just in time, I can't remember exactly the details. Probably my birth story, like I felt like the placenta had dislodged somehow, some way. I can't remember the details. And so then I stood up, and I felt it flopping around in there probably or something, and then oh, I'd bought this dog bed to birth my baby in, because it seemed like the perfect cushy landing spot, right? But he, made it in water. So I birthed the placenta in the dog bed that was lined with Chuck's pads. And then I sent one of my kids running to tell her that the placenta had been born, that almost well, to don't call the ambulance. Not that, of course, I didn't want her to call the ambulance, but she's so, like, mental, she's doing it anyways, basically. So thank goodness, because then she called the hospital back and was like, the placenta was born, everything's fine. I'm going to get kicked out if I, fuck up my landlord's birth, so I better, So then, that was it. The baby was born, the placenta was born, I was not hemorrhaging, everything was great. I had made the herbal frozen pad things, so I used the shit out of those, for sure. And, the very next day, I got in my car, put my baby in his car seat, and took my kids to the store. I didn't go in, but they went in, and I drove them, and I had to continue to, mom stuff, single mom stuff. But luckily, my daughter's mom, they were in junior high, and she was carpooling, we carpool. She took over, driving the kids for the next week or whatever, so I could super chill, which is way great and appreciated. I had another mom do that with, I think, ballet, with one of my other babies too, so that was great. And, well, that lady that was assisting me in Yaku's birth, kind of unsolicited-ish. She ended up getting real mental, and like a few months after Yaku was born, I had to file an eviction and have her kicked out of my house. She was just not a good fit for my house. Too much complaining and mental problems. And these little loco programmed robot people, like, if you let them get too close to you, like help you birth your child, they get like psychos and possessive, and they think they like have a level of authority over you that they don't. It's so bizarre to me how people get meaner and psychoer instead of nicer and sweeter. Like, the closer I am to someone, like if you become my best friend or my person, I'm going to be nicer and sweeter and butt out more, not the opposite. So I don't know what kind of mental problems people have on this planet, but that shit had to go, okay? And so, like, one of the rules I have for people that move into my house is no drama and no constant complaining. Well, she was, like, loads of drama and always complaining, like 20 times a day, insane complaining. So we started just ignoring her. And then her daughter, whom paid her rent, said, well, you're not being attentive to my mother, and so we are not paying you rent. And I said, okay, this is like way beyond drama, so you've got to go. Your mom's got to move. Like, constant complaining, and now you're not paying me rent, so I'm not even getting paid to deal with her constant drama and complaining, right? So yeah, they got a month and a half rent from me a few months after I had my baby, and called DCFS on me and told DCFS that I was smoking drugs while breastfeeding, which I wasn't. So I immediately went and took a drug test, and of course nothing came of it. But like, what in the actual fuck is wrong with you humans? Like, loads of them that are like this all around me. Mentally ill, crazy fucking people. So that caused me an enormous amount of stress, actually. And I dealt with it as cool as I could, but within myself, I was feeling it. And when Yaku was 4 months old, Yakuruna is his full name, I took him to my Mexico place to try to salvage my Mexico place, and so he could meet his daddy. And by the time I got there, I was so burned out that I just crashed and I couldn't move. You know, taking care of my 5 kids, now my newborn baby, running this business out of my home, running the Mexico place vicariously, you know, through the web. I'd sent Yaku's daddy there months before to see if he could maybe run the place so that he could be there when I'm not, kind of thing. But he just didn't know what the F he was doing, and was dramas up, and it was just too much. Like, the business wasn't up and running enough, and it wasn't generating enough money yet. But given the circumstances, I kicked ass, and I got that bed and breakfast on the map, on Google Maps. It hadn't been there before. So I was really proud of that. It's called Casa Tucan. You can find it on Facebook, and you can find it on Google Maps. It's in, what's that little town called? I can't remember. It's this little tiny town, but it's just on the coast, right before the town that takes you to Holbox Island, just north of Cancun. So I learned a lot, and thanks to that place, I got my Utah place generating money for me, which allows me to be chilling here right now. And I don't regret any of it, but I did decide, because I was so tired and so burned out, and I hadn't been able to come up with the money for the next payment, unfortunately, because of the lawsuit and all that bullshit from my ex, that I decided to give it back to the lady. She wasn't very happy, but I'm like, lady, you got, you know, a really nice chunk of money and a whole year off of worrying about this place, so you should love that and be happy and grateful for that being the case. But instead she was trying to get more money out of me. And I gave her a deposit. I'm like, dude, I didn't even ask you back for the deposit, so be happy. But she was a vegetarian. And as usual, vegetarians' brains don't function properly and their drama's up. That's my experience of being around them a lot throughout my life. So, if that doesn't apply to you, you're probably fucking lying to yourself and delusional. You're probably a plant-based eating drama as fuck person that's always causing problems and complaining and being a little pussy-ass bitch. So, you know, have some bacon and shit, because you're poisoning and starving yourself, is what the facts of actual reality of my experience are. You're horrible human beings to be around and deal with. But I gave up my Mexico place, and I told my ex-husband I can't do it anymore, so we're going to, on a trial basis, see if you can handle the kids 50-50, and I'm not going to come home from Mexico. because I knew that if I came home, that he'd just drop off the kids at my house. He doesn't give a fuck that I'm tired and need more rest. So if I'd come home and said, don't bring the kids home, I'm going to be resting for the next 2 months or the next month or whatever it was, additional time that I took, he don't give a fuck. He don't give an actual shit. He says that to people. It's true. He doesn't care. And I know that. So I knew that the only way that I was going to be able to actually rest is if I didn't go home. So I didn't. I said I will be home, sometime in July, as soon as I can. And until then, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to sleep. I'm going to sleep, 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 sleep. So I gave the keys back to the lady of her beautiful, darling Casa Toucan. Highly recommend you go there. It's really beautiful. That was my home for 1 year. And I did get to enjoy it for a few months. And so I don't regret that at all. What a wonderful experience. And now I've learned how to be able to do what I did. So cool. And then I went to Chiapas, Mexico. Baby's daddy wanted to go there to get stuff for his jewelry making, whatever. And it was really nice. And we found this super cheap place where we just rented a room. And I'd just sit there in that room and sleep, 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 sleep. And then there's these idiots that lived there that were like judging me, like, just shut the fuck up and eat bacon, because you don't actually know what the fuck's going on. They're like, oh my god, I'll eat you later. And your poor baby. It's like, I'm sick, you fucking idiot. I'm tired as fuck. I have 1 million kids. How many kids do you have? 0. You don't know shit from Jack. And what you need to do is just shut the fuck up. And take my baby so I can sleep, you idiot. And the guy is a fucking moron. And, baby's daddy did his best to provide for us and buy Yaku's diapers and milk. Because my breastfeeding got all fucked up because of stress. And after a certain point, I can't remember when, but in July, I was able to scrape up enough money from renting one of my rooms via the internet to buy an airplane ticket back home. And even though I was not ready to come back home, I knew and I could tell from talking to my kids that they were all freaked out. I knew they were being abused, and that the ex needed a break because he was losing his shit on them. And so I went home, and he kept kidnapped 2 of my kids from me, but he gave me my little boys. And those 2 kids that he kept sent me these nasty messages saying that I'm a whore and a terrible person, all this shit. They didn't want to come home. And I messaged my daughter back saying, so you're mad at me for being sick? That makes a lot of sense. But I knew that they were being manipulated and brainwashed by evil people that wanted them to hate me. And so I just didn't have the bandwidth or energy to fight it. And I decided to just let it be. I could have forced him to give me back my kids through my lawyer and all that business. But I was like, you know what? My kids are allowing this psychopath to fuck with their heads, and they need to learn by being up and close to evil shit. Because only then do you learn about evil shit. On this planet, life experience teaches, not words. Not words. So I knew that was going to be what's best for them, as hard as it was. I mean, you love your children and you want to protect them, but you walk away and leave them behind in a nightmarish hell where you know their heads are being manipulated and fucked with. My bandwidth was short, and I had to allocate my energy resources to this new baby and to my 3 little boys. And I was, barely making it even with that. So that's what I decided. And long story short, my kids are seeing reality now. But of course, as abused kids are, Stockholm Syndrome victims, it's a back and forth dance. Oh, he's nice to me. He's wonderful. Like, all that mean shit never happened. Oh, he's mean to me now. Oh my God. Oh, he's wonderful. Love bomb, destroy. Love bomb, destroy. Love bomb, destroy. So, yeah, it fucking sucks. But that is the reality that we're dealing with on this planet. And I know that if my children learn to know thy enemy young, they'll be able to avoid thy enemy later. And they'll have a much higher success rate and not marrying that shit, But of course, it's Russian roulette. You just don't know. Sometimes you turn into the evil that you're around, right? But I see evidence that they're getting to know evil and they're not loving it. That's not cool, Yaku. No, that's not cool. Nagaiso. Don't do that. Nagaiso. Pampaka. So that's TMI, way beyond birth story, but those are facts of reality of what actually happened. And Yaku's 2 years old now. That all transpired when he was, birth to 6 months. And the whole lawsuit thingy came to an end. A total waste of money where I gave my ex what he was asking for way before the end of the lawsuit. And all I wanted was the court to say, yes, I could get them my kids' passport so they can travel. I don't think they should have to wait till they're adults to travel. Like, you get accustomed to these beautiful lifestyles from the time you're a little child, and the more that you are taken out to travel and do things, the more likely you're going to do it when you're older, because then it's just going to be normal to you. So I don't see any reason why they should have that robbed from them. And luckily, even though the child psychologist is a complete idiot and told me that it is totally fine to manipulate a child's mind, totally fine to fuck with kids' heads. Well, I guess it's fine, because that's what they do. They're paid and trained to fuck with people's heads, poison and drug them, so that makes sense. But he also did say that he doesn't see any reason why I'm a threat of kidnapping my children, and that there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to get their passports and be able to travel. So he gave my kids more time with my ex than I think is responsible, but I needed breaks, and I was either going to get them hiring a nanny in Mexico while I was there, or I was going to get them from the ex, which I'd actually asked him way before Mexico to please help me more because I was tired, but he refused. So then he sued me to get what I was already asking for, like brain damage to legit people. And I hope that my hilarious memories of the whole situation with my ex doesn't confuse you to believe that I'm not fully enjoying my birth stories. That's just what happened coupled with my birth. So the point also in mentioning the stressful situation I was dealing with in my relationship is I did experience birth pain, but I also was heartbroken and exhausted and in a nightmare. If you have a beautiful, loving partner and a wonderful perspective and you're not afraid of birth, there's no reason why you should be experiencing that level of pain in birth. That is not inherent to birth. That was inherent to my particular very high stress situation because of my dumbass choices and trusting people whom were nightmares and whom I should not have trusted, much less made babies with them. I did do that. That's facts of reality. I learned and I grew from it. It's not something I would do again. I don't even hang out with shit, much less make shit a babies with shit. I don't have sex with shit. So as soon as I notice a person is a shit quality human, like a demon-possessed psychopath, covert, they seem very nice. They work and pay their bills, and they kiss everyone's butts. But as soon as you're not willing to put up with their bullshit and lie to them, because they are abusing their family behind closed doors when nobody's looking, as soon as you're not willing to lie for them about that reality of what they're doing, then they turn on you viciously and horribly, and then you see the true monsters that they actually are. Love doesn't hurt you ever. Someone that loves you doesn't love bomb you, give you praise and love and, oh, you're so great, and then destroy you, and then back and forth, back and back. No. Healthy people that love you all the time, and they don't take out their bad mood and their bullshit on you. They go put themselves in timeout and leave you out of their bullshit. But I was raised by a mother that does do that. She does that to this day. So my hard wiring was that this is how people are. I didn't know that you could just be nice all the time or go take a nap. I didn't know that it was not normal for somebody to love you so much one moment and then be destroying you the next. So I had to go through the amount of that I've gone through to realize, and thank goodness I woke up and realized, because a lot of people will die not realizing. A lot of people will die being abused with this. It's not okay to ever be mean or cruel to anyone, period, ever. Even if you have to set a boundary, even if you have to say no, even if you have to kick them out of your house. Like I had to kick that lady out of my house to help me birth Yaku. But I did it kindly. I never yelled at her. I never insulted her. I was never mean. I just said, you gotta go. Okay, you gotta go. And she wouldn't go, so then I just went and I filed the eviction. I posted a notice on her door. I just followed the legal process that I have to follow in order for the process to work itself through to the point where the sheriff will come and remove the person from my house. I have to legally go through that process or they won't come help me. So I was just doing it. And yes, I was feeling it inside, like it's really horrible to have people living off of me, a single mom, I just had a baby, I need that money, like I lost, a couple $1,000 on that deal. So that was very stressful, but it was also very stressful to have people that were maliciously doing things to try to get my baby taken away. Like, there was a lot of emotions going on inside myself, but I just kept laser focused on she's got to go, and me arguing with her, or, expending any energy, hating her, being mad or anything, barfing stuff out my face at her was just going to use up way more energy than I had available. So I had to use the energy that I had available to do what I had to do to get her out legally. Arguing with her was not part of that, right? Me filing the paperwork, showing the evidence to the judge, when and if I had to go to court, was the only thing that was necessary. And then I had to use my resources, my energy resources, to take care of my baby, take care of my kids, take care of the other people that rented from me, keep my house clean, because they pay to live in my house under the agreement that I keep it clean. They keep their own rooms clean, but I keep everything else clean. So at the same time, my kids. So the point is I had to allocate my resources wisely, and being mean to this person that was clearly mentally ill was not a wise use of my resources, right? So I don't remember the point of bringing that particular part up again, but love doesn't hurt us, and we don't need to get upset either. We just need to remove things that are not good for us. And any level of anyone not being kind to you is abuse. They don't have to punch your face. You know, pretending like they love you one moment and then destroying you the next. That damages our brain identically to if they grab their fist or a 2x4 and hit us across the head with it. According to other people that have done scans on people that have been emotionally and psychologically abused, they are finding the same physical damage in scans as if that person had been punched or hit. So you want to diminish psychological and emotional abuse? Then you're irresponsible and ignorant. So if you're with someone that's nice to you sometimes and destroying you other times, get the fuck away from them. That's abuse. You deserve better. If you're a person doing that, you need to knock it off, and you need to keep your bullshit to yourself. But we need to be to each other as kind all the time, even when we're setting boundaries. That's what the point of bringing up that lady was. I had to set boundaries with her and remove her from my house. I didn't need to be mean about it. I didn't need to be aggressive about it. I just did my due diligence. I used my energy to do what I had to do to get her out. I did what I had to do to get my ex out. I didn't sit there and yell and fight with him when I decided to divorce him. I was just like, I'm divorcing you. I'm leaving you. Goodbye. And he was going nuts, trying to stop me and get other people to stop me, and I was laser focused. I knew what I needed to do. I finally got clarity on what I was dealing with, and I was done. And so I just used my energy to do what I needed to do through the courts and for moving the fuck on so I could have a super chill life in this amazing place right here right now. Look at this shit. So that's the end of my birth story. It's my 8th birth. And birth is not just about birth. And you're not going to have an orgasmic birth if you're having babies with people who aren't absolutely adoring you. So a lot of females are having problems in birth thinking that it has to do with some physical thing, like they're eating wrong or whatever. You're being most likely abused by your partner, neglected, and or you're abusing yourself and neglecting yourself. Probably a combination of both, right? And you're not going to have the pain for your orgasmic birth under those conditions. Just like I did not. But I did have amazing solo births that were quick, no hemorrhaging, you know, no people fucking with my vagina and pushing on my this and that and bleh. They're amazing. So I can't imagine that it would be wise for me to have another baby because I'm exhausted. But if I ever did have another baby for whatever reason, I would do it unassisted again. Hands down, period. There's no reason to hire someone to hurt you and put you in danger. You don't need to be afraid of your body. You don't need to be afraid of birth. Feed yourself real fatty, high-quality, grass-fed, pasture-raised animals, wild, if you can get your hands on them. You eat that shit. You eat the wild plants of earth prepared properly, and your body is going to do perfect. Your body knows how to birth a baby. It was created for that. There's nothing to fear. And even with the amount of pain that I did feel, because I was under a lot of stress, right? It was brief. 2.5 hours, boom, baby was out, done. Killed it. You can kill it too. I can do that shit, you can do that shit. So don't fear birth. Stop listening to all the fear-mongering bullshit. Don't even talk to people about what you're planning on doing if you're going to do an assisted birth. Keep it the fuck to yourself. Go into labor, have your baby. Don't even tell anyone your baby is born until you're good and healed up. And then you can be like, boom, had my baby. And then if people ask you details, don't tell them. Fuck, all they do is me, fear bullshit and brainwash crap. Why would you ruin your freaking life like that? You're not going to be the change we wish to see in the world by arguing with people and trying to talk them into shit. You're going to be the change we wish to see in the world by being the freaking change. Just be the example. of what we wish to see. Just do it. Just by you doing it. Keep silent. Don't tell anyone nothing. Because you're going to waste your energy unnecessarily. And you're going to ruin the joy of your beautiful unassisted birth. So peace out and love you. Mwah.